Ever since the dawn of humanity, there's always been this sense of endless generations before you. For thousands of years, your great grandfather, your great great grandfather, had the same life you did. That all changed. Wait, wait. With the Industrial Revolution. And especially with the 1900s. Hello, I'm Minsark. Welcome, my Minsarkerites. Welcome to the cult. It's pretty neat here. Yes, I'm a blonde, blue-eyed, white piece of shit. Wait, no, I'm Irish, so I can't be white. Anyway. What the fuck is this video about? Oh, right. So what this video is about is how generations, specifically quote unquote, the last four generations, aka from boomers to zoomers, have kind of worked. I will mention other ones. I will not mention the ones beyond zoomers since I don't think they're relevant. Yeah. Well, in the sense of like affecting stuff. Like there aren't even like alpha memes yet. Okay, not like that. I mean like Gen Alpha. But so I don't think we should count them, and especially since yeah. Uh yeah. I should start with the boomers. Yeah, definitely. The most hated generation. So the reason why the boomers were so well off was for plenty of reasons, even beyond my own understanding. But I will say it was the reason why they were so big is especially because of all the soldiers coming home. They need to get all that hot blood out of them. Beating your wife does not does not get all that out. So baby making can help with that. But for the real answer, actually, hold on. I'm not that educated on that. Yeah, this is not working out. Why were baby boomers the biggest generation? Well, okay, yeah. I'm really sorry. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, there you go. Okay. There was just a really great economy after the Second World War, largely due to. I'm sorry for making you all wait for that. Largely due to. Yeah, it did not take me like 3 minutes to figure out that. Yeah, it was because of the economy, bro. Um, but the post-war economy definitely helped, and especially since, uh, it was the Second World War, and all those guys were coming home. They were setting up their life, coming back when they got good jobs and that kind of thing. They were able to support big families, And the generation before the boomers is a very interesting one because it's kind of one of contradictions. Similar to the boomers a little bit, but not that much. Uh, they're the guys that oversaw the passing of civil rights. They were also some of the biggest opponents of civil rights. Um, they fought the Nazis and the Japanese. Uh, but then they became some of the most fervent anti-communists. Usually people who weren't communists, but that's a different thing. So with this bizarre generation before them, the boomers, as they grew up, due to this post-war, excellence mainly, they kind of were in an interesting environment, as many of them were sent off to college due to them doing extremely well, and them being one of the first generations with a huge amount of affluence, abundance, especially so universally that a lot of them went to college. A lot of them, or the ones that did went to college, told the ones that were not in college, like, hey, here's this new stuff. Like, apparently black people aren't evil. Stuff like that. And a lot of developed ideas amongst the boomers generated out of this. For example, we started to see what I would term a increasing step in the nuclear family. By the way, the free love bullshit does not actually do anything. Like, I think it's like it has certain advantages and disadvantages. I know that might sound weird. Like, why is like people going out and like having free love so bad? And I'm not saying that necessarily. The problem is there was not really a huge replacement of like our marital systems or our it was a part of it. It was a part of it. It wasn't like a new thing that completely got rid of it. Especially that's proven later when the boomers get into their 30s and 40s and become basically what their parents were in the system. But fuck, I forgot where I was. But basically what free love did, the biggest influence of it was it kind of sort of competed with, it was a part of the nuclear family, but it also, there was two visions of the nuclear family. There's two visions of traditional marriage. So the one of them was, you don't have sex until, okay, let's be honest here. Lots of people before our modern conceptions of abstinence definitely fucked before they were in marriage. But, you were supposed to basically have your wife as your legit single partner. This also carried it over in the other marriage. But basically, there was not as many steps. So it was find a suitable partner. But this is a process that was going on in several. So, like, America's never really. There were a lot of familial like marriages going on, of course, probably before the 1900s. But like with the process of industrialization, and especially due to America's kind of distant nature from Europe, being a colony and all, and being America, it's certainly a lot more. It was certainly a lot more interesting than Europe, that kind of thing, which has kind of been seeped into tradition for a while. But look, I could be totally wrong. Criticize me the fuck out if you want. But so there was that. The ones that didn't require as many steps: find a suitable candidate, flirt with them, take them on a couple of dates. Then you guys develop feels, and then boom, you're married. Pump out a couple of kids, you're fine. The system was, of course, not perfect. It was very fucking flawed and very like detrimental to both sexes in a lot of ways. What replaced it is better and worse in a lot of ways, but the worsities got worse over time. In especially with the internet. What was beneficial about it was the woman had a lot more say in how the marriage would go out, or they would have a lot more consent into it, and not have the man dominate as much. Of course, in a patriarchal system, it's kind of hard not to have the man, quote unquote, dominate, especially in those times in the 60s and 50s. But what developed over time is this kind of idea of many, many dates, and then you have sex a couple times, and then a couple years in, you guys get married, and then you have the kids. But as the boomers grew up, you know, second wave feminism emerged. We can't forget the boomer ladies, guys. You know, the Karens and the Smithies and the Cindys and the Creamies, that kind of thing. Fuck. This is why this is important to talk like unedited, because you're a lot more down to earth. And from this, a lot of them entered the workforce. The interesting effects of this, we've not even quite seen it quite fully emerge, but like as women enter the workforce, we kind of see this more elongated version of the second version of marriage. It would get longer, more dates, you would have to have more sex. It would be a lot more, which, great for the woman, you know? Girl power. Probably great for the guy too. I don't fucking know. But the reason why this gets so bad is eventually in the Zoomer era. But that isn't the fault of the woman. As much as those manosphere pieces of shit tell you. Not the fault of the guy either, as much as some weirdos tell you. But that is a story in the future that I have to tell you in the future of this video. But anyway, the boomers had a splendid time in this post-war economy, as well as once they grew up, they were all super educated, and they blasted through the economy, quickly becoming the yuppies and in the 80s. And in the 80s, they kind of forgot all of their drug-fueled heydays during Nam. You know, they protested a lot of Nam. Well, they really only protested once we started evacuating the war. I actually think if we prolonged the war, or we won in Nam, well, not prolonged. If we won in Nam, I don't think they would have protested at all. Boomers are a weird breed. That's all I'll say. But when they were in their 20s, they were kind of figuring stuff out. Some of them got married, of course. In their 30s and 40s, they began to have really successful careers and began to consolidate their money. And when they got in their 60s and 70s, 50s and 60s, they began to go into retirement. But the offspring they produced, and you'll notice this until the Zoomers, each, like, the millennials, and as much as millennials complain, and especially Gen X, took after their parents a lot. They went through similar phases. They went through rock and roll. A lot of them watched Transformers. Actually, a lot of the fan communities came from the boomers a bit, but then really started to emerge with Gen X. Yeah, it's kind of hard to differ. They're basically it's really, honestly, the best description of them is they're a mix of millennials and boomers. As much as that doesn't make any sense. Like, they got in the rock and roll and metal. They were the big guys for that. They're kind of the next forgotten generation. They were not really they were definitely really marketed to, but they were like, There's not enough significant about them. But they definitely did have their influence. We see like Ted Cruz, for example, is Gen X. I think Kamala's Gen X. But like, not much note. They didn't protest against. They weren't the big protest guys like the boomers and yeah. Millennials, on the other hand, are very interesting in the sense that they are basically very boomer-like and esque. They hate the boomers because they have more success than them, but at the same time they do their same methods and sometimes hate on Zoomers when they say their life is so hard, which by every statistical metric it is. It is harder than it is for millennials, and especially harder than Gen X, and especially harder than boomers. But oh yeah, housing. How could I forget that? Yeah, boomers had it easy. Gen X had it a bit easier. Millennials got shitted, and Zoomers got fucked. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Uh, Millennials had this bizarre sense of. I really don't like millennials, but I'll try to not make it about that. But they're kind of overrated. They were portrayed as this rebellious new generation, which I really don't understand where that came from. Like what? They listened to what? I can understand they were probably much more socially progressive than noticeably, but like not by a lot. Like I feel like that was overblown by, like that was the same thing Fox what that like they said about Gen X. It's the same thing. I think Zoomers are very unique though, in a lot of different circumstances. But like millennials are very notable though, in the sense they grew up both under the Gen Xers and the Boomers, and by their parenting, and they very much went with their values. However, occasionally they're like, ugh, their methods suck, but they still do them. It's it's not like the confusion that's happening with Zoomers, where we don't know what the fuck to do since we can't even get jobs. Like, and that goes into the Zoomers, the guys that grew up with the internet, which definitely affected things. So remember that marriage thing? Nah. And you know what fucking replaces it? Okay. That sounds a little mean. There is a certainly divide between a bit younger Zoomers and older Zoomers. We're basically millennials, but are cool millennials. Older Zoomers, they kind of grew up with with a bit later. They had some internet stuff, but they weren't iPad kids. Those are like the later Zoomers and Gen Alpha, but they were the guys that first got into the dating apps, along with millennials, etc. And I think it was much better than it was back then, but it kind of set a bad precedent. So remember the dates thing? Well, now you're purely judged on what you appear in a photo by a stranger. Doesn't that sound crazy? Like you went from a system of where you meet friendly with someone on the street to a system of where you are exploited basically by your loneliness, and you feel terrible for not getting any swipes. I've heard it's really bad for men. Bad for women too, but in different respects. And it makes men very desperate for like a lot of connections, as well as these dating apps led to a degrading in social coupling. This isn't like, and a lot of problems is like, you even hear boomer ass advice from from Zoomers on Zoomers, Zoomer and Zoomer action, but like, and the main reason why all this kind of happened, like the internet is great and terrible at the same time. Like, it's like industrialization in the way of where it was like a lot of stuff. It's still happening, so we don't even know what will be what the effects will be in 10 or 20 years. But like, a lot of the problems with the internet included a atomization, definitely obliterates the an extreme lack of self confidence because you are now judged by strangers who are incentivized to not be nice to you, like as they would be in personal conversations, since they're a lot more anonymous. With dating apps, that kind of ruined dating. Dating as a concept was already kind of fucked for centuries, but it got even worse because now it was a lot more temporary, and or not. That's a difficult thing to say. It became a lot more. You're getting nothing over time as it became increasingly more exploitative, and everyone has to be on there to get a date now. So guys are getting fucked. Not in a good way. Not in the way that they want. And I don't think a lot of people understand this, especially when people who should. Because, like, you can't go to a guy and go like, yeah, bro, just be confident. Like, work out. Just be a bro. And then go on about how, like, toxic masculinity is, like, terrible. You see the contradiction? You're going from, like, oh, yeah. Yeah, guys. Toxic masculinity is so bad. The expectation for us to be confident all the time, conceal our feelings. You see the problem? And then you go to a guy like, dude, you're just not funny. You need to be funny. Confident. These are just buzzwords. And the other thing is, like, Gen Z, and I don't think this is just because, like, we're finding out people have not mental illnesses, quirks, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to offend people. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do here. Well, okay, I offended every generation in existence, but I don't think these quirks are because we have better means of detecting them. No, I think it's because Zoomers have awful conditions. And I don't understand why people don't understand this. Same thing with being, like, I don't think, like, no, it's not that same thing. Never mind. But when you have record high quirks, I don't mean to be too insulting by that, by the way. I just don't know how to quite phrase it. When you have record high depression, record high ADHD, anxiety disorders, obsessive disorders, you're going to have problems, especially since society completely does not know how to handle that. And you shouldn't expect it to. But, well, you should demand it, yeah. But, like, especially since they don't understand how to handle that, they're going to go, well, it's your fault. Because the real answer is that we weren't managing it in the first place. And they don't want to say that because people would be pissed. But, so the reason why Gen Z is fucked is because quirks, the economic trend going against them. Yeah, that's another thing. Over time, as the boomers gained more and more power, and they basically flooded college. So they went horde mode on college, and then that became the expectation. So now everyone has to go to college to get a degree. And then the market fucking inflated with college positions. And because of that, there's going to be a lot more bullshit jobs because people are going to have, they're going to go into degrees and that kind of thing. And yeah, you're going to have you're going to have 500 new managers that are going to be, you're going to have 500 new employees that are going to be underemployed. So now you got to make up some bullshit position like couch fitter or some shit. And this inflates. And then you're gonna be like, well, okay, we need to find unique individuals so that we can do nothing. Okay, no, really, I don't quite understand a lot of employer requirements, and I think that's kind of on purpose. Like, they're not supposed to make sense. They're basically like, well, what makes us do the less work and you do more? And if you have a good degree, if you have like, so then it eventually became, it went from you're breathing to like you get the job to yeah, we're gonna need like 30 years of work experience for you to work at McDonald's. Like level position jobs are becoming freaking ridiculous. Like not McDonald's, but like you know what I mean. Like and this has been the biggest problem with Gen Z, and this has continued. This like need to go to college, this need to go, and that Zoomers don't really have a good respite. They obviously see something different. They go grind, not the good way. They go gambling. Okay, I'm joking about that one. They go streaming. They go YouTubing. Likes and follows and subscribes and give me $1 trillion, please. But this is incoherent. I should have had way more data research on this. Yeah, get entranced by the skull. Ooh. But the point that is that Zoomers are not doing great, and the reason why dating is horrible, actually, is because the dating apps incentivize, it kind of. If the incels get it right, they get it right on dating apps, because holy shit. You get horrific results, like men, like, not being, like, a majority of them being single, or, like, not approaching a girl. Like, what kind of, how fucked do you have to be to have, like, how fucked have you make it to be, to do this? Uh, and I say the incels are right about one thing. It's that, yeah, if you're, like, great looking, and you are rich, yeah. You are getting the cake. But, like, I'm sure like, the people you've met on Tinder or whatever, it was great. But, like, you can't see these results without huge inequality in a way we've never seen in America before. Like, in this type of way. I'm not blaming the women here either. To be honest, like, this has affected both genders in both ways. All sexualities too, in the sense that with the, we're like, for an average guy to be great, they either need to be jacked to all fucking hell on steroids for Instagram or something. Declare they're a fake natty, etc., or be fucking loaded with money and look pretty sexy. Just be hot, like really good looking, so that you just get money wherever you go. You make it rain, baby. You make it rain. Or you have to be exceptionally intelligent and hardworking. Like, these are unrealistic, and especially when people look at it, they're gonna be sad, they're gonna kill themselves. It's like when they don't meet these expectations that they're being forced down to see, because it's what's popular. People are like, holy crap. And we see the trends. Like, look at what a good physique was in, like, the early 2000s, and now that would be declared like you're fat. It's ridiculous. It's all because of exploitative systems by corporations who manage to harness the internet in that kind of way. And the internet is kind of like this side grade in a bizarre way, but it has incredible potential for great shit. I say that like we don't have Wikipedia and YouTube. I'm talking like they were like we just discovered cyberbullying in 1999. Look, bullying sucks, but there's great potential. I will say, and also the economic conditions. You can't get a house due to urban conditions. It sucks to get a home. You can't get a good job. You psychologically are completely fucked in the head. Uh, you want to kill yourself. This is why we don't have families. Side note: if you have enough money, Mama, then I can certainly give you a couple, but a couple of spawn, if you get what I mean. But what the fuck was that? But uh, oh yeah. But but yeah. So we either have terrible jobs or no job. We are either in a relationship or we're in a bad relationship because, oh yeah, that's the other thing. Fuck. Yeah, boomers were raised in a weird way. So, generally the parenting style was before the boomers, generally that it would be very minimal involvement. So, before schools, for example, they would be raised by community members, for example, or by private tutors, if they were really wealthy. They would grow up, learn their father's trade, or if they're lucky, get a new one and do very well on it. Or they work on the farm. So yummy. But over time, as the school system got established, we got the New England imperialism invoked upon us. Fuck, I love boogers. We kind of got this idea of basically that schools were kind of a nanny state in a weird way. But also we kind of got this trend after the boomers. I think that's the case. Of increasing, you could almost call it Karenization, but almost a helicopter. Yeah, helicopter. This is where helicopter parenting got into full swing, where children can't play outside anymore. They can't oversee themselves. They can't walk a couple blocks without someone calling the cops to their fucking school. You would saw increased regulations on a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that wasn't even needed. Like there was a lot of good regulations, I would say, even if it's like like, what am I kidding? I'm a fucking anarchist. What good regulations are there? I'm fake. I'm phony. I know, but even for like estate standards, like before, like it would have been outrageous in like 1850 for a lot of this. Sorry, that's slavery. 1870 with this kind of stuff, but well, it happened in the 70s, so yeah, 100 years. Whew. Whew. And this kind of evolved of where I was regularly instilled as a child that I would get fucking raped if I fucking stayed outside too long, or had to be watched when me and my siblings had to be watched when we were playing out in the backyard. Well, that was for my dad, not for my mom's. But in the front yard, oh yeah, you're being watched like you're like sheep for a hawk. I wish I said hawk differently, but no tuas. But like like a lot of regulation on what you do from time to time, a lot of involvement from parents, and this became exhausting for parents as well as the kids. It was a nightmare for kids, and it was like a dumb thing for parents. And it was also reinforced by government shit as well. Not super directly, but with examples like fucking getting arrested over like your kid walking a couple blocks. You see that kind of thing. It kind of shows the extent of how far the state can do pointless bullshit because you're ran by delusional people. who think like helicopter parenting is absolutely not abusive. So you have kids like, and especially with, uh, oh yeah, another thing that fucked up kids. I know people say divorce is great and all. Not for children. No, especially if your parents are conniving bitches. It's not great. We have court battles endlessly about custody, and I'm a divorced kid, so I perfectly know this. Yeah, you won't feel, you will idolize, even if you weren't alive, even if you weren't really in that era of where they, abuse each other. You idolize it because it was a sense of peace. It was a sense of stability, not you like getting constantly fought over, not you picking and choosing a parent. And guess what? You're more likely to get divorced if you are a child of divorce. What the fuck? What, you fucked me over for life just because you two couldn't get along? Thanks. Thanks a lot, mom and dad. Like that kind of thing. I will say, shit, this is 36 minutes long. I did not expect it to take this long. Yeah, this is probably gonna be incoherent. I'm not doing this again, but like, I thought this would be way clearer. This is why people have scripts. Um, Now divorce is great if you want to separate like, abusive. I want to kill my wife people. And really, wives should get, again. Like, I'm not opposed to women having consent in anything. Uh, as long as they're like not violating other people's consent, then I'm perfectly fine. Especially if it's involuntary associations with other people, like relationships. But remember the free love thing? Uh, that style of marriage is kind of bizarre in the sense it tries to combine two systems that should be contradictory, but are actually not if you really look at what free love is supposed to mean. It wasn't supposed to replace marriage. Only a few hippies believed in that. It was just supposed to be an extended time of fucking around. And that extended the time of child rearing, etc. You could do all sorts of stuff like that. Fuck, nose reveal. But the biggest problem was there's no great system to handle divorces anymore, or there ever was really. Like, kids would get fucked. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to go into divorced dad stereotypes over here. Like, I'm not going to go complaining about how I need to pay child support. Even if I do find child support really sexist because it assumes that the woman can't support herself and that she is extremely vulnerable. But it was in the 50s. It was established for a while, and it kind of makes sense as women didn't really have an independent income. But like afterwards, especially since these people also marry other people eventually, like my mom had married someone else after my dad, that she divorced my dad. My problem isn't that people like separate. My problem is that how it fucks over kids who are living with their parents bickering over like how one of them couldn't control their urges and they slept with someone else, or one of them is a conniving asshole or they're both conniving and they should have never been together. And this was never the fault of Zoomers. It was the fault of their stupid parents. It was the fault of the stupid system that made them mentally unstable, so now you're mentally unstable. Even more so. Because you live in a fucked era of where you are fucked exponentially over time, simply because you were born in the wrong time to be alive. You have to deal with shit that people never dealt with like 300 years ago. Like, I'm not idolizing those times. Those were awful. You would die of tuberculosis easily. You had no independence as a woman. But, you know what you did have? You had community. You had a purpose. You had if you like, I'm not gonna entertain like a grit and like ambition over here, especially since 300 years ago was mostly for white upperclassmen. But like, if you were like a peasant, you had fucking you had an extended family that cared about you. Yeah, even if you had to work the farm. But and this is almost universal everywhere. Kind of except city, not really except cities. That only emerged later. I feel like a lot of people kind of ignore how like cities really weren't as dense as they would become in the industrial era. So they had a lot of smaller communities. They didn't have as many kids as they did in the rural areas. We certainly had kids. Like I don't like we see this with like Rome, for example, during the Roman Empire and the Republic. But yeah, it's really fucked for Zoomers out there. You have women who feel exploited for their bodies. You have men feel who get nothing. Even the guys who do get everything, they like their lives become like with sexual addiction, and they're still also have mental problems. Mental problems. It's not like you having autism is inherently horrible, but I mean like depression, anxiety, like self-esteem. Self-esteem's huge. Like, I hope all of this made sense and this went beyond. But really, I feel so sorry for my generation, so sorry for myself. Like, we were dealt an especially bad hand. And I could go on and on about how capitalism sucks. And it does. It always has. Every system has sucked. Says my anarchism. Monaco. But, that was fucking terrible. But, like, I feel like what a lot of people don't understand is that there's relative badness in societies. So, like, yeah, you were under a feudal lord, but hey, at least you had fucking community. So the feudal lord part is terrible, yes. I'm not saying, like, feudalism is inherently better than capitalism. I don't think that's true at all. I mean, you would die easily from diseases. You had women that would just get obliterated when they gave birth. That kind of thing. But I think there was a lot of aspects of the medieval ages or earlier periods before the Industrial Revolution, and even after the Industrial Revolution, that would be much more ideal than what we have now. No communities. Complete atomization. Unless you're old. Yeah. No money. No bitches. 007 of everything. But you know what you do have? You got grit, bitch. I guess. I don't know. It's just becoming more bleak. It kind of sucks for a lot of us. And I really don't hope a lot of stupid young men are going to go like, ugh, I don't get pussy. And my life fucking is terrible. I'm going to go kill a lot of black people and think that's going to... And like, I'm going to like... Yeah. The Jews are the problem. The Jews fucked my wife. Like that kind of thing. Like that. Like I really hope that a lot of my generation doesn't go that way, which might happen because a lot of like people are following fucking Nick Fuentes and going like orgasming around him. I'm not seeing far right movements. I'm kind of in utter disbelief, honestly. Like. They don't care about you. Democrats, Republicans. They don't give a flying fuck about you. And that infuriates me. Housing crisis? No. Fucking... Me not getting enough money? Some words. Look, the Democrats are better than Republicans in almost every respect. But you're gonna have to say, yeah, they don't address these issues because they can't. What are they gonna say? Sorry? Yeah, we let this happen? No, they can't. They'll either say it's the Republicans' fault, Democrats' fault, or they won't address it, or they'll barely address it. They'll say in press meetings, yeah, we have a housing problem. and then they don't solve it. We have Canada, which has had a liberal government for like 50,000 years, and the housing is worse. The wretched affected is real. You can't get a home. You can't get a bitch. You can't get kids. You're gonna lose your shit. Maybe not the kids part, but you're gonna lose your shit. I mean, we do want to reproduce, but I don't know what's with you, and I don't want to like be like, you need the babies. But like just because I'm pro-natalist does not mean I'm pro-breeder. but I'm joking with that wink. I will blow up any breeding camps that emerge in the future. But I have great confidence in our future. But so let's review. Boomers suck. Zoomers rule. Millennials drool. Gen X is forgot. The new forgot generation. And we presume in the faces of the abyss what we do now. And what I say? What do I say to that? What do we do in these bleak times? Okay, no. Don't just say organize. What we do in these times, we educate, we learn, we try to grow stronger ourselves, we try to build ourselves higher, we try to succeed even when people don't want us to, and we get people together. Anyway, I hope my insane ramblings about how I fucking hate boomers. Oh wait, there has to be one more section.